Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pies Presser. I wasn't planning on doing a live tonight. I thought there wasn't enough news. We'd covered the VFL. We spoke about Riley Mason. We spoke about Charlie West. But the injury report comes out on a Monday. Now, please help me in the chat. I thought it comes out Tuesday, but I'm assuming maybe it has to come out a certain amount of days prior to the game against Sydney in this case. So 5 days out. And wow, do we have some injury carnage at the moment? And can't say any of us saw this coming, to be totally honest. So Jared Wade has provided an injury and health update ahead of Collingwood's round 5 gather round match against the Sydney Swans in this absolute blockbuster clash at the Adelaide Oval this Friday night. We go in 3-1. I'm pretty sure Sydney might be 2-2 after an 0-2 start. So they're very resurgent, and we'll be going in without some of our big guns, starting with none other than Jordan De Goey. Jordan De Goey will be ruled out of Collingwood's round 5 match against the Sydney Swans on Friday night as he recovers from right ankle and Achilles inflammation. The midfielder was subbed off in the final term of the side's round 4 match against Carlton after experiencing soreness. De Goey will be assessed leading into the side's round 6 match against Brisbane. Let's start with this because I have so many feelings towards Jordan De Goey and this injury and the timing of it and everything else. So he comes off as a sub in the fourth quarter and you think, okay, makes sense. It's a fly special. The game's pretty much iced. We're up by nearly 5 goals. The weather conditions is definitely not supporting a comeback from Carlton's side. And lo and behold, that's exactly how it panned out. It was an absolute dead rubber of a fourth quarter. I nearly fell asleep. Somebody next to me had to nudge me to wake me up. That's what happened. So no one really raised their eyebrows at that sub call. Hey, quiet. Excuse me. She's mad as well. She's not happy. She's a North supporter, but she can feel our pain. So, right ankle and Achilles inflammation. Now, this is quite common after quite a big layoff. Normally, you will feel something blow up a little bit, and obviously, in this case, unfortunately for De Goey, it's come around pretty quickly. I just feel like this guy can't catch a break right now. Is he just not made for it at this point? 29 years old. I think he is 30 or 29 this year. One or the other. I'm concerned. I don't want to fearmonger amongst us because I feel like, and we all feel like he's put in a great body of work in the preseason. He went to Doha. He did his thing there. He said he's come back fitter than ever. He feels like his mechanics, his movements are a lot more smoother, and we're hopefully going to be conducive to seeing an injury-free Jordan De Goey, but it's been anything but since he's come back from Doha. He's nursed that hip and groin, had the knee bruising, was managed through that. We sort of took our time on that side of things, and then comes back for, is this his second game? So he played against Footscray, had the week off, he's come back against Carlton, and yeah, he's just blown up, unfortunately. Look, there's a little bit of peace of mind in this, knowing that it's not to do with the hip and ankle region. And I don't think he's had any Achilles history. So to me, that points out that he should recover quite well. Usually when you don't have, like, when you're not sensitive to a certain area, when you get so many injuries in the same region, you become hypersensitive to that. And you become hyper anxious and you just feel things a lot earlier because you're very mindful of, oh, how's my hip feeling right now? And then you're touching it, you're feeling it, you're worrying about it, you feel a niggle, and then you just capitulate from there. So I'm hoping the ankle, okay, I'm not too stressed about. That's whatever. That's just conditioning through the joint. Achilles is a little bit more concerning, but at the end of the day, if this is something he doesn't have a great history with, I'm confident that he should return. And I'll just hold my breath on this one. I'm not extremely stressed, but I'm stressed because we're going to miss his game-breaking ability. He only had 7 touches in 3 quarters against Carlton, but guess what? Those touches were effective. He kicked 2 goals straight, and each of those goals came in very crucial moments throughout the game and could have changed or did change the way the game ended up panning out. Imagine if it hadn't trended that way, and if he missed one or the other, we're going to have to replace someone for him. And to be brutally honest, they're not going to be able to do the same thing that De Goey provides the Collingwood Football Club. But it is what it is. That is where we're at with Brisbane. We'll catch up to the comments section now before we move on to the next player that has been announced as injured. We're also going to do a predicted 23 tonight. So stick around. We're going to do a collaborative effort and try and put together the team and see how it matches up against Sydney. So let's catch up to the old comment section. Let's see what everyone's saying. Let's see. Comments. All right. Stormy's here. Digsby's here. Chris is here. Ben says Collingwood versus Sydney will be a really good test aside. Sydney like to use the corridor a lot, so that's an area to lock down. But yeah, big outs, certainly. Thought I saw JDG propping around after the game, said Reza. Well, there's definitely reason to think that was the case now. Bunch of stuff happening. De Goey is a big worry. He's been nursed to within an inch of his life. Did the whole Doha thing and still having issues. Hopefully just the load thing as it's unrelated. That's where we're all sort of crossing our fingers right now. We're really just hoping with De Goey, because he hasn't had prior history to the Achilles, as far as we're aware, it can be, hopefully can be a quick turnaround. But it's a, look, I always say the preface is he's had a long time out of the game, but still the fact that we were conservative with him all preseason, we didn't start him for opening round, he didn't play round one, he comes back for foot scrape, plays forward most of the game, 50-50 split. And then we have another bye, and then he comes back, and yeah, he just can't hold it right now. But Davey Boy brings up a good point. It's Fly's mantra. De Goey needs to be fit to perform, not fit to play. That is the motto for Fly this year, as Davey Boy has pointed out. So we shall move on to Lachie Schultz, another one, another crucial player who's arguably the form player of our team right now, behind maybe Darcy Cameron, I'd say. Where's my... There it is. Lachie Schultz. Lachie Schultz will be sidelined for Friday night's game after scans revealed the forward sustained a minor hamstring strain during the side's session training on Sunday afternoon. Schultz is expected to spend 2 to 3 weeks on the sidelines. That is extremely disappointing, because we know what injuries can do to you. You can be flying and then you get taken down by an injury like a hammy. So you've got to nurse through that, and then you've got to come back and hope that you can return to the form. But you can't be ignorant. You've got to know that 2-3 weeks out of the game and nursing an injury, it could take a little longer to get back to the form that he was at pre-injury. So this was a guy who was absolutely dominating his position as a high half forward. I would say he was certainly, at this point in time, a top 5 small forward. So let's just isolate that position and see where he stacks up and in the mid forward domain via stats. So let's go here. He's getting quite a few touches. So will that count for anything? No, you got a lot of players there in the mid that are classified as bloody mid. Oh, it's mid forward. Okay, that's what I've done now. So supposed to do general forward. So general forward is the term they like to use these days, as opposed to like a medium-sized forward. General forward covers the players in the small and medium-sized forward position. So he's the number 1 player in the league in the general forward category. He leads tackles. He leads tackles inside 50s. What else have we got? Let's have a look. Where is pressure act saying? All right, possessions. What about that? He's averaging 15 touches a game, which has him in the top 15 of the league for general forwards as well. Like, he's just doing a bunch right. I'm pretty sure he's been a bit of a contested machine as well. Isn't he a top 20 there? He is not. But you get the point. And then he's scoring as well. So beyond his ability to pressure and lead the league in those facets of the game, he's able to translate that with some sort of scoreboard pressure, which is going to take him a long way. What's he averaging? 1.3 goals a game. That's the same as Bobby Hill and Jamie Elliott, who are your more stay-at-home small forwards. You will see them roll up to stoppages at time, but generally speaking, you're going to find Bobby Hill and Jamie Elliott closer to the goals and looking for Lockie Schultz and Bo McCreary and co to find some inside 50s. What are the goal assists saying these days? Jamie Elliott's right up there. Geordie DeGoe is up there. So we're going to miss that as well. But after all the criticism that Lockie Schultz received last year, which I think to a certain extent was warranted and was fair, he came with a big price tag in the way of draft picks, right? That's no secret. We all know that. We know there were some factors that he had no control of that certainly would have hindered his performance in 2024, but there was definitely things that he could have been better at himself. Disposal going inside 50, shots on goals, but he looked to rectify it and was fully vindicated up until this point on the Monday, the 7th of April, 6:12 p.m. He was and is our best small forward right now. You can say players like Bobby Hill and Jamie Elliott are maybe a little bit down on form. That's okay. When you have a strong group of small forwards or general forwards, you can cop one or two of those four not having amazing games so long as they're applying pressure at ground level, which Bobby Hill and Jamie Elliott do that and more. And then when you get Lockie Schultz excelling in his position, he just rallies the folks in the forward line and says, I'll take you boys on my back and we'll go from there. And that's what Lockie Schultz has been able to do. And he looks like a completely revivified man, full of confidence and a force to be reckoned with as well. You don't want the ball in his vicinity when it's in dispute, because what he's been able to do has been insanity. Let's once again catch up to the comments here. Let's see. What are we saying? A bunch of comments. I'll try my best to keep up with this, guys. I'm just mindful that I don't want to get lost with the topics we have in mind. DeGoe is a big worry, says JMO. He's been nursed within an inch of his life. I already read that. Sorry, my apologies. Ben Zero says hammies at training just shouldn't be happening. They have plenty of time to warm up properly and build into sessions. Sometimes it's just the luck of the draw. So if anyone with understanding or history and personal experience with soft tissue, they just come out of nowhere sometimes. It's not, and I dare say it's not a hammy where he's pulling up and he's being sniped from the crowd at training. It's just a little niggle. You feel it. You go, oh, okay. You can work through it, but then as soon as you cool down, sometimes you'd be lucky to touch your toes after. So I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, you still got to get your speed work in training. Could have been as simple as picking up a ground ball when you lunge with one leg forward, and sometimes you put too much weight on one side or too far forward or too far back. Something's going to give. Sometimes it's just unfortunate, really. That's all it is. The Aussie YouTuber says, hey, mate, I'm confused. What is happening with Tom Mitchell injury-wise? Do you know what is happening? Good question. I've got that right in front of me. Give me one moment. So there is also updates on other places. Some positive news now, okay? A little bit of negative news, but we'll move on to some positive news. Tom Mitchell has commenced running and will continue to build on this over the next few weeks. Mitchell is no longer experiencing plantar fasciitis symptoms and continues to progress reloading his ankle. So remember, he had a setback a couple of weeks ago with ankle soreness, and he's now we'll call it remission with regards to his plantar fasciitis. So once again, we're just hoping this is someone who's been just injury ravaged for the last 12 months. Where he finds himself on this list, when it comes to AFL and VFL contributions, I don't know, but at the very least, I just want to see this man fit and firing. He deserves it. He's a hard worker. He contributes a lot to the club. He's a likable figure. So I really do wish Tom Mitchell all the best, and hopefully we can see him out there sooner rather than later. Could be out of contract. Let's have a look. Tom Mitchell contract. Let's have a look. Let's see what his contract status is. So I'm pretty sure he is out of contract at the end of this year. So you'd think if he doesn't get right, he'd be lucky to get a contract extension if he can't get his body right. It's just too much of a risk. We've already got Harvey Harrison, who's injured. We've got Reef McInnes, who's also on a long-term injury list. We're already nursing players on list who aren't even available to be selected. So I know we will bring in a mid-season draft to cover the likes of Reef McInnes while he's on a long-term injury list. So that sort of covers our back in that way. But I just don't know if you want to bring in another injury-prone player into the next year, particularly someone who is let's be honest, Tom Mitchell's got, even at full fitness and full health, he's probably got a couple years left in him maximum. Harvey Harrison is progressing well in his return from an ACL injury. The forward commenced a running program this week and is expected to return to some light skill work within the next month. So last week, we heard from two sources, one being Fly and one being Jared Wade, that Wadey first initially suggested that there was an expected setback with some swelling in his knee, whereas Fly in an interview said it was a bit unexpected. So hard to read into that. All we know now is he's returned back to his running program. He's expected to see some light skill work within the next month. So I don't know if we're going to see Harvey Harrison this year. I really don't. Being so young, it's probably not worth the risk. And with the depth we have in our wings and our forward line right now, I don't know how much of a necessity it is to risk him. That's my first thought. Risk averse. Just play it safe. He's got time ahead of him, but in the same breath, if he's available and ready to go and he passes all the objective measures that he needs to reach to be able to tick off the final milestone where he's able to play a competitive match, let's get him there. Why not? Our VFL team is stacked with AFL listed players right now. Throw Harvey Harrison in there, and I think we'll look a lot more stronger. We'll touch base on the VFL game as well. Obviously, I made a video of it yesterday, but maybe we can dive into it a little bit deeper in a moment. Reef McInnes, following a successful surgery 10 days ago, Reef McInnes is progressing well as he recovers from an ACL injury. Reef will commence a gym-based program to build on his strength over the next 4 to 6 weeks. So that's positive. Another positive off the back, a couple of those there. It seems like we might not put him on a long-term injury list. 4 to 6 weeks. I think this man will be bullish to... Oh, sorry, hold on. Sorry, I've just read the wrong one. I've just reiterated what the update was for Reef. Sorry. Ash Johnson continues to progress well following successful surgery to his left fibula, which is not your big bone in the leg, which is important to note. Johnson will remain in a moon boot for the next 2 to 3 weeks and will commence a reload period. The club expects Johnson to return to play within the next 6 to 8 weeks, which is massive. So he's going to find himself in the second half of the year putting his best foot forward in the VFL and giving himself every chance to remain on the rookie list next year. That will be a great bounce back story. Regardless of whether we see him at AFL level, you just want to see someone like Ash Johnson, who is another very likable character around the club. Just seeing the way he goes about his stuff at training, you can just see that he's adored by his peers. Return to play within the next 6 to 8 weeks. That's the beauty of I say this with a grain of salt, I guess that might be the right term, but the beauty of breaking your fibula is, one, the fact that you didn't break your tibia, which is the big bone. You break that, you're screwed for at least 3 to 6 months. And it doesn't seem like there has been any ligament damage to his ankle. Whereas if that did occur, that would have set him back as well, like a syndesmosis, or if he snapped all 3 of his ligaments in his ankle. I believe there's 3 ligaments in your ankle. That would definitely, you'd definitely find it harder getting back. But if it's just a clear snap of the fibula, then he's really, the footy gods have graced him and said, you know what, we don't want you to finish off your career like this. We want to give you every chance to bounce back. And I'm sure if he was lacking any hunger prior to the injury, I think this will make him, it will make or break him, but I feel like it will make him even more determined to try and have an imprint in this team. So that is that. Let's catch up. Hoskin Elliott play up forward. Markov, he's in there. He was on the wing yesterday. They must be tempted to bring in Charlie West as your local espresso. Happens every year, says Brendan Rao. Can't get a break. 2-3 key players are out. We're going to struggle now. Yeah, there's a lot happening, isn't there? Freddie Jong's in the chat. Hello, Andrew Schultz. So sometimes I get the Andrew Schultz reference. Do I look like him, guys? If you guys want to do a quick Google search, Freddie Jong is just referred to me as Andrew Schultz. I've noticed he's said that the last couple streams. All right, let's get into a pick your team with the zero hanger. So let's do that. Let's actually do this together. So I want as much input from you guys. We're going to do this and we can discuss how our team looks like going into Friday in the massive clash against the Swans. Pick your team. Collingwood. All right. Let's go here. Excuse that outdated screen there. Pick your team. How's that? Add that. All right. Let's zoom that in. Let's do that. All right, so let's predict a team with Jordan De Goey and Lockie Schultz out this week. That means there's an opportunity for some players in the VFL who are desperate to have an opportunity. Oleg Markov was one who was destined to start in place of Dan Houston. We haven't even mentioned the fact that Dan Houston has accepted his 2-game suspension. So there will be 3 changes, guys, that will need to be made. So I'm going to roll through this and we'll do this collaboratively. I imagine the first 23 that we set together won't be the final one because we may or may not factor in one player or the other. But let's start with some obvious ones. So let's go Darcy Moore at fullback, who's been in elite form and seems to be getting inches and inches closer to that All-Australian form in 2023. And that has been with some great thanks to Billy Frampton, who had an unbelievable game against Carlton and was... You barely could fault him besides maybe a couple of ground ball efforts in the first quarter. But beyond that, he was unbelievable. And Darcy Moore thanks him dearly. Back pocket, let's go Isaac Quaynor. Now, this man only had 5 touches on Thursday against Carlton, but you best believe his ability to pressure at ground level and never lose a contest in dispute and delay the transition. There were times where Carlton looked like they were out on the wing. Isaac Quaynor was one of those players who was always there, ready to fight tooth and nail to ensure that they wouldn't get that transition, which they've struggled. Carlton have been struggling with for the entirety of this season, really. Let's go Jeremy Howe here. He's been in absolute elite form as well. So it's really nice. Isn't it ironic that once we get our forward half game right and we're able to retain the ball, we think we had 70% possession in our forward half against Carlton, all our defenders tend to thrive. So just keep that in mind, guys. Now, let's go Josh Dacos here. I think that's an obvious one. Digsby says, how back pocket in? Ed Allen should come in, says Chris Talbot. We'll work with it. We'll work with it. Keep them coming, guys. So I was thinking Perryman here, but I think he was too good in the midfield. And with Jordan De Goey's absence, I think Perryman might even see more midfield time. He probably had 50% midfield time against Carlton. That might even bump up to 70%. So who goes here? Mind you, the carryovers from yesterday against Coburg, Ed Allen and Will Hoskin-Elliott did not play the full game, knowing that on Friday they would have, between Sunday and Friday, they'd have a 5-day turnaround. So I'm going to start with Will Hoskin-Elliott here. I'm not saying this is a certainty, but we'll put that there as a tentative lock for now, and then we can go from there. Brazzy Maynard will be there. I'll put him on the bench now so I don't forget him. Don't worry too much about the bench, who starts there and who doesn't. It's just more we'll sort of just see how it goes there. Wing, I think Lipinski's been really good. The footy was definitely on his side a lot more against Carlton. I'm just really liking his ability to link and connect and then also find something inside 50. Let's go Perryman in the middle. I thought he was outstanding, kicking his first goal for the club. And yeah, his pressure and ability just to win the ball and throw it forward was a real key to victory against Carlton. On the other wing, well, this has been a lock for the longest time now. Jack Crisp, right? Jack Crisp. So there's a few. Lipper was good. Sullivan, or at least an emergency. Sullivan was very impressive. Was probably the most consistent player against Coburg yesterday. Not sure if he fits this team just yet, but we'll keep working through it. High half forward. Let's go Bo McCreary. And in Lockie Schultz's absence, this man has a massive role. He's been a little bit underwhelming this year. His pressure is still his pressure, but Can he find a goal or two and have his 6 or 7 tackles against Carlton? That would be absolutely massive. Just give me 1 second, guys. Sorry, I'm just okay. So, and then my check, centre half forward, he had an almost game similar to McStay last week or against Footscray. He had 5 shots on target, did not register a single goal, 3 behinds and 2 shots that did not register. The other high half forward. Now, this is where it gets interesting, guys. What are we saying? This is where I need some contribution here. So we've got Jordan De Goey out, Dan Houston out, Lockie Schultz out. Does that mean? I'm just looking through the list. Who is in consideration now? Would you say a Finlay Macrae? Finlay Macrae has played high half forward last year. He had 23 touches yesterday and 2 goals. We got to bear in mind this needs to be a general forward, like small to medium. Huh? I am lagging a lot. Okay, guys. Sorry, I am lagging. I'm just going to close a few programs. Can you just let me know in the chat if I'm lagging? Just let me know. I'm just closing some tabs so that we're not lagging as much. Bear with me. Okay. Let's get rid of that. Bear with me. No lag for you. Okay, cool. Come on, close. I just got to close this final one. All right. Moving on. So, no Finlay. No Finlay. Okay. So then are we looking at a Will Hayes potentially? Or is that too early? I think that's too early. He had 9 touches, had a goal, played well against Sydney in the first VFL game. What are we saying here, guys? I think your computer must be busted as you had Finlay in. No Will Hayes. All right, let's leave. This is tough, guys. This is really tough, I'll be honest. Look, I'm going to leave Macrae here just for a moment, and then we'll come back to this because there'll be some easier alternatives here. Bobby Hill in the forward pocket. He needs to lift as well. He's been really, really quiet. Like I said, Lockie Schultz and Jamie Elliott and Bo McCrew have had more moments than Bobby. I think it's time for Bobby Hill to sort of step up in this situation. Other forward pocket is Elliott, and then full forward will be McStay. Okay. Surely give West a crack. We're looking. We're going to look to try and fit him in. Give me 1 moment. Work with me, guys. DC, who's just taken the mantle as the best ruckman in the league right now after beating TDK, and then in the midfield we'll go Steele Sidebottom and Nick Dacos, and then I think still Scott Pendlebury can come off the bench. That's not too much of a concern there. Who else have we got here? Tim Membry. And then I think Ned Long will get a start. And I think Ed Allen will be a sub. As I mentioned, he came off early along with Will Hoskin-Elliott in the VFL. So I think someone like Ed Allen will be just makes most sense to put him as a sub. Now, just looking at the comments, what I might be thinking here is, what do we think about TJ, who was really impressive? He's actually been in emergencies a couple times this year. TJ here, and then instead of Finlay Macrae, we can do a Hoskin-Elliott. How do we feel about that? I think that makes a lot more sense. Is that Darcy Moore, Isaac Quaynor, Howe, Dacos, Frampton, TJ, Lipper, Pez, Jack Crisp, Bo, Brody, Hoskin-Elliott, Bobby Hill, Jamie Elliott, Dan McStay, DC Steele, Nick Dacos, Braden Maynard, Scott Pendlebury, Tim Membry, Ned Long. TJ Parker and Ryan looked average. That's what I'm saying. I don't think either of those lads are quite ready. I think, yeah, okay. So Markov played on the wing, but we know he can do a job here. So maybe, and we know Fly has his favorites, and we know Fly prefers experience. Let's go Oleg Markov. And here, who are we going to put here? We'll leave Hoskin Elliott there. Is there room? I don't think there's room for Charlie West just yet. Now, he did play a lesser side in the Coburg Lions. They're usually a bottom four side in the VFL, but the way he performed is the way he performed. Doesn't matter who he's up against. He's a young budding player who dominated in the contested aerial battles. 5 contested marks is monstrous. Like, that is absolutely massive. What are we saying? What are we saying here? So you can't take out Tim Membry. And you can't take out, I don't think Charlie West makes it. But then the other hypothetical is here, you go Sullivan. You could do this. Sullivan was stiff to be dropped after that game against Port Adelaide. So then you go here. Lockie Sullivan, and he can play that forward role. He does have that versatility. And then maybe you go Will Hoskin Elliott here. I think I'm going to settle with this. How do we feel about that? Markov bench. So you could either go Ed Allen or Ned Long, Ed Allen or Markov as the sub as well. Right now, we don't have the option here, but Ed Allen is our sub. I'm pretty happy with that, if I'm being honest. Raz, Pendles, Membry, Ned Long. Charlie West comes in if McStay, Myerchuk, or Membry out. Yeah, that's if they are unavailable for whatever reason. Dan Houston's going to be one to miss. I just don't think we can. I don't know if Ryan, Parker, or TJ are there just yet. I think with Will Hoskin Elliott, at least we know he'll defensively do the job. He's not foreign to this role. He's played everywhere on the field. He's an okay ball user. It depends sort of what sort of confidence he's working with at the moment. He kicked 2 goals or kicked 1 goal on the weekend and was sort of, I can't remember. I think he played on both sides of the field, but he did kick a goal and had 12 odd touches. Josh Dacos is going to require to have a massive monster game. So interesting. Houston 2 weeks. So what do we think about Dan Houston 2 weeks? Are we happy that he accepted that? I just think Dan Houston needs to get that out of his game. It was a horrible look watching it. And just bear in mind, like, you have a split second to make these decisions, and you really press the boundaries with some of the decisions you make, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Toby Green could have nearly been in trouble with that tunnel, but you can just those type of examples just show how difficult it is to make that split second decision. I think 2 weeks is good. I'm glad they didn't contest it. I feel like it's weird. I feel like we're trying to move away from this dangerous game that is inherently bound to have some head trauma. But I just find it interesting, teams who, we're all preaching this as a league, but then there's an incident here or there where it's like, okay, well, this guy should certainly be suspended. Why are you contesting? I think Scrimshaw in opening round or round 1 had a ban put upon him. I think he got 3 weeks, but I think Hawthorn still contested that. And in my eyes, I just felt like that was a situation where, why are you contesting that? If we're trying to move away from this conversation of concussion, shouldn't you just cop that? I actually like how Collingwood have copped that. And your local Expresso, Sydney have Goulden and Papley out. Well, that's sort of a blessing in disguise. They were severely undermanned against North Melbourne. I'm not too sure how many players they'll get back. So Sydney don't come in to this game without their own problems. Madison Tallarico gifted 1 Pies footy membership. I'm not too sure who that lucky person is. I have to check on the YouTube chat, but thanks, Madison. Appreciate it. He's a good man there. He's a Myerchuk hater, but he just wants the best for the club. So thank you for that. Sullivan stiff, if he doesn't get a gig, was just about best on in the VFL. I would say so too, Jamie. I think Lockie Sullivan is that high half forward, and then you get Will Hoskin Elliott, who's safe as houses in the back line. We do play well in South Australia, Harry. Maddie and Missy Travel says it's 2 weeks because the other guy got up. Had he not, it's 4 weeks. I'll take the 2 weeks for Houston, have him back for Anzac Day. Yeah, I'll take it. Look, we're at 3-1. I think this game's really crucial to get the win. We go into the Easter clash the following week against Brisbane at 4-1. That would be a lot more. You'd be willing to concede the defeat against Brisbane if we go in at 4-1. But on a contrast, imagine you lose against Sydney, you go 3-2, and then you're in a crunch match against Brisbane where you could potentially walk out 3-3, and then you've got another grand final type of game, arguably the biggest home and away fixture between any team in any year, and that is Anzac Day, Collingwood and Essendon. You could be staring down the barrel at 3-4, thanks to some injuries and luck not going your way. But I truly believe we are. I have this feeling, which is nice to have back, and it's that feeling knowing I feel like we're a chance going into every game right now, and that's a confidence that definitely would permeate within the team, within the club, within the fans. There's been times last year where I'm like, like going into some of those ladder fixtures, like, Gold Coast don't like that, Geelong don't like that, Essendon don't like that, Hawthorn hated that. I haven't got that feeling just yet. I'm not saying Sullivan will play over Hoskin Elliott, Digsby. I'm saying Sullivan and Hoskin Elliott will be in the same team on Friday. Patrick Emmett says there's no chance that we lose on Friday, regardless of injuries. Football Park 2.0 is not called Adelaide Oval. It's called Collingwood Oval. 10 wins in a row there, about to be 11. Suck it, Crows / Port. Love that, Patrick. Love that confidence. Peter G says Sydney looked really good against North. I mean, at the end of the day, it is North. Dom says Bobby Hill and Bo need to lift. 100%. One or the other. Like I said earlier in the stream, it's okay to have small forwards down in patches throughout the year. That's just the difficult role that they have to operate in. It's a very unforgiving and thankless position at times, much like that high half forward role. The wing, the fat side wing can go unsided at times. I thought Jack Crisp was out of the game a lot against Carlton, but he still found ways to impact. I think he ended up having 20 touches, even though I felt like the wing was always on the Lipinski side. So you just got to find a way to get active. And I'd say Bobby Hill needs to play higher up in the stoppages, but he is. He's just not finding it. So, look, there are a couple of times in the stoppages I would have liked to have seen Bobby Hill moving a lot more, trying to get loose in the contest, but I didn't really see that. So, I don't know. It's Bobby Norm. I'm sure he knows that he'd like to be a little bit better, especially in a contract year where he could potentially be going elsewhere. He'd want to be bolstering his contract stocks sooner rather than later. Team Ellis says Bo McCreary has been off all season, in my opinion. Yeah, he has been off, but there's always time to bounce back, and probably now more than ever at this point of time, we're going to need that with Lockie Schultz out. Yorgos says Charlie West, South Australian boy, debut him this week. That would be the ultimate dream, wouldn't it? To see someone like Charlie West go back to his hometown. I think he should believe that he's any chance or every chance to be a part of this side going to gather round. I just don't think with Fly's philosophy and method in the way he selects his side, he's not just going to give these youngsters a freebie just because they're young and sexy. It's attractive. Fans will love it. He's really he's got a good temperance around that sort of conversation and won't jump the gun if it's not the best option. And just because I think we've learned that just because a player is older and at the back end of their career, Fly will not hesitate to play them. If they are performing in the VFL and they have experience in the AFL and are proven and are premiership players like Hoskin Elliott, like Oleg Markov, like Billy Frampton, these players are going to get the nod ahead of the likes of Charlie West, Will Hayes, Ed Allen, Ned Long, Joel Cochran, who we haven't even spoken about yet. And he was even impressive. He was very impressive in his first 2 weeks in the VFL. A lot of speed off halfback, a lot of handballs, and just creating some movement off halfback and speed. So he's someone who, while we haven't spoken about a great deal, if you've been watching the VFL, you know that Joel Cochran could easily jump the priority list when it comes to who could fulfill a role in the back line. I wouldn't say he's going to be up for selection though. Patrick Emmett says those in the chat traveling to gather around, make sure to check out a restaurant called Nola Adelaide in the city. It's my go-to every time I'm in Adelaide. There you go, guys. Nola Adelaide if you want some nice food. What cuisine is it, Patrick? What are we looking at? If the goalie helps us in adding a piece to us getting a Petrarca or Rao, would we pull the trigger? Peter G with the hard crunching questions tonight. If the goalie helps us in adding a piece to us getting a Petrarca or a Rao, would we pull the trigger? So, Matt Rao is a restricted free agent. I think we would definitely consider De Goey a part of that package. It's a premature conversation being in April already, but just knowing De Goey's injury history, I think if they were to lose Matt Rao, they would want players ready to go. Similar to Fly in the offseason last year, they don't want picks. They'll want players who are ready to go. I think De Goey complements Ben King, complements other forwards in there. Jed Walter, who's still yet to prove himself. I think Geordie De Goey, taking off my Collingwood black and white glasses, I think that would be a really handy way to put forward a really good offer to Gold Coast, along with some draft picks. But it's something we just don't have. I mean, we've got McGuan to worry about. We've got Zach McCarthy, who's an NGA at Oakley Chargers, had a best on performance on the weekend. So I don't know. I mean, there's so many factors that have to come into it before we get to that point. I mean, you look at Darcy Cameron. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? He's from Western Australia. There's talks about him there. He'd be on small money, and I'm sure he'd be looking to get a bag. He's 31 this year. So while he is in the peak of his career right now, we don't know how long that's going to last. And when you think of it from a financial perspective, you'd think he'd want to get the best offer possible, even if it means he'd have to go back home. I'm not saying that as if it's a bad thing, but you'd be leaving a club that is right up there and is perpetually in contention for the flag. And then you got Bobby Hill. Like, we could lose these players for something. So Darcy Cameron's a non-free agent, so that would force trades. And then Bobby Hill is another non-free agent, so a trade would have to be facilitated there. So Leper, Shane O'Brien, Fly, the whole recruitment team would have to put it'd be a monster. They have a monster amount of work going into this offseason. There's a lot of players who remain unsigned. There are a lot of players who will be considering retirement. I mean, if we win a flag, right? And then we haven't even spoken about Braden Maynard. So it's one of those ones with Bruzzy. That's compensation there potentially if he leaves. If we win a flag, I don't think Bruzzy would leave. If we don't win a flag and Collingwood would come to the party and offer 5 years as opposed to the 4 that's on the table right now, I think he'll settle for that. North Melbourne offering 6 at the moment. His brother's there. So there's definitely a lot of picks that could come our way by the time we get to the conversation of the Matt Rows and the Christian Petrarcas of the world. By the way, I'm off Christian Petrarca. I love him. I love his ability. I just don't think one packaging De Goey would be something Melbourne would be looking forward to. I'd definitely put all our eggs in the LDU/Matt Rao basket. So Team Mello says Rao is a restricted free agent in 2 years. So right now is a non-free agent, which would force a trade. However, if he was a when he is a restricted free agent, what happens there is Collingwood can offer a contract to Rao. Gold Coast will naturally choose to match it and then force a trade anyways. They're not going to take compensation. They will force a trade because they'd be bullish that they could get 2 or even 3 first-round draft picks. Then we also have Zach Butters, who's in conversation. Even just coming back from injury, he just brings so much intensity to Port. And I think Port will get better over the course of the year, despite their slow start. But they already looked better in that second half with Zach Butters fit and firing. So yeah, that's sort of the pick dilemma we have. I think there's a lot of moving parts before we even get there. But to answer your question, I love Jordan De Goey, but I just think if you can get Matt Rao and package De Goey in there, once we sort out some picks with some potential outgoing players, I wouldn't discount it. Our NGA and father-son should be priority, 100%. Your local espresso says, Peter, I thought Cochrane looked the weakest of the three recruits, but they look unbelievable for the 4 picks over 40s. In the preseason, I had some reservations for Joel Cochran. One part to it was because he was injured for the most part. Two, he didn't stand out in training. But I think he's really growing in confidence with every touch he gets in the VFL. And I reckon we've hit the jackpot. We're going early on this, but just early signs point to Justin Lepich just having a 10 out of 10 first season as the head of recruits. He's done unbelievable. Done absolutely unbelievably. Your local espresso says, got to pay DC. We owe him. I'm with you on that. I'm just hoping we don't overpay him. You know what I mean? I don't want another Brody Grundy situation. Obviously, rucks are important right now, especially with how many top caliber ruckmen that are floating around in the AFL right now. You've got Sherry, Gawn, TDK, Luke Jackson, Sean Darcy when he's available. Rowan Marshall's there as well, who's playing a little bit more forward. You got Jared Witts. Like you probably don't want to have a ruckman that's not quite up to it right now. It's not that time of the season. But in the same sentence, I just don't think we should be paying above and beyond for someone like Darcy Cameron. As much as I love him, he's an intercepting machine. He provides so much respite from us in the defensive half when the ball's in the air, and he's a contested ball in the guts as well. He averages well above 11, 12 contested possessions over the last couple of seasons now. So that's that. Dom asks, has the Goey ever played a full season? Seems to miss 5 to 6 weeks every season, carrying a couple extra kgs doesn't help. And that's a big consideration when potentially putting someone like him on the trade table. Yes, he's a finals beast and he wins games off his own boot, and he does that every final series. He has 1 or 2 games in those final series where he gets you over the line. So that's where I'm reluctant to let go of a finals-proven player like Jordan De Goey. You know what I mean? Chris Talbot says, I think Collingwood should pay DC and Bobby and Brazzy to stay at Collingwood. Look, I think as far as priority list is concerned, I'm probably going DC, Braz, Bobby Hill. That's my list of priority. Dees says Hyphen and Long are definitely in next week for De Goey and Schultz. Interested to see who comes in for Houston. So Long was already in the team, D, so he'll start. If you go back early to the stream, we did a predicted 23. We have Will Hoskin-Elliott coming in, Lockie Sullivan coming in, Ed Allen coming as a sub, and Ned Long comes in to start in the side. Your local espresso says, I feel the Coburg win was big as it's men's bodies versus boys. 100%. Like we can't undermine a non-affiliated VFL club in the Coburg Lions. Yes, they're not a team who are contending for finals year in, year out. But the fact that we got kids like Charlie West and Riley Mason who are imposing themselves against grown men who train with each other and they have continuity in the side that's being selected week in, week out. Whereas Collingwood, yeah, we have 16 AFL listed players, but you throw in 6 or 7 or 8 VFL listed players, it messes with the synergy. So while it's great to have AFL quality and it sort of rose to the top in the fourth quarter, that is sort of a negative and a positive at the same time. So I think lots to like. And you just look at the genuine contest that Riley Mason and Charlie West were having and Joel Cochran and everyone else. It's worth every consideration, regardless of who you were playing up against. An away game as well. A massive crowd. I think there was 3,500 at Coburg's home ground. So probably one of the biggest crowds some of those players have played in front of. I know they're going to imagine that they're going to get an even bigger shock when they debut in front of 60, 70, 80, 90,000. So can't wait to see them fully embrace that. Yeah. I think that's pretty much it, guys. Like I said, I wasn't going to do a stream tonight. By the way, if you guys aren't following Pies Footy on Instagram, it's Pies_footy. We're on Spotify. I'm not posting there frequently enough. I'm still umming and ahhing about that. But I think that's all I've got. We'll be back tomorrow. Wednesday, we'll have reactions to Fly's presser, or it might be even Tuesday. I'm not too sure with the Friday game. I'm pretty sure it will be the Wednesday. Thursday will be the captain's run. So the moving the magnets will do that, team selection. And then Friday, I'm considering a watch along. I am considering a watch along. So watch this space. And then, yeah, the typical routine will proceed. Once again, thank you all for being here tonight. It's been a pleasure, and we will see you tomorrow. Go Pies.